Hey, it's Rob Rush, and as you can see, looking into the camera and joining me today on this Thursday, it's none other than William DuVall. You may know him from his solo career, from Giraffe Tongue Orchestra, or from Alice in Chains. By the way, we saw you guys last year at Jones Beach. It was a presents for 94.3 The Shark, and you just totally killed it, man. I had seen you before, but for some reason that night, like it was just you guys bought it that night at Jones Beach. So
Uh, that's awesome. Thanks, man. Appreciate
So,
that.
hey, no problem, man. So tell me, what's going on? We have been playing this other project that you've been working with, the band called The Who, and I always have to remind people it's not the Roger Daltrey and Pete Townsend Who. It's the
Right.
HU, The Who from Mongolia, and the song that you're on. I think I heard it, I guess when it first came out, like a couple months ago, and I was like, man, this has a hook. This is a great song. It's called "This Is Mongol Warrior Soul." So let's talk about that first. And how did you start, getting involved with a band from Mongolia?
Well, they just reached out, and it was quite a pleasant surprise to me, and that's what got us rolling. They asked if I wanted to be a guest on the song, and at first, I was thinking, yeah, sure, I can, do a verse or something, and
Yeah,
and keep it simple and not alter your arrangement in any other way, and the arrangement of your song any other way. And well, anyhow, over time it evolved into just what we have now, which is quite a bit more than uh, I originally presumed when they first contacted me. But it's all good. I mean, I love it. The journey was really gratifying, and I think the final result is even more gratifying. So yeah.
it's like I said, it's a great song, and if you haven't heard it, you should definitely a listen to the Shark because we're playing it, and b you can stream it on services. It's the Who HU and Warrior Soul. This is Mongol Warrior Souls, and it's out
Yeah,
now. And, well, we
yeah.
had we just mentioned, about you at Jones Beach last year. Jerry was just here, did a show for us at the Paramount in Huntington. And I checked Alice in Chains website, and it doesn't look like that there's any tour dates for you guys yet for 2023. So will you be going out and doing some stuff, on your own later this year or with GTO?
Um, no, not GTO, and probably not on my own either. I actually did a spring tour of Europe last year,
Okay.
um, and that was for my first solo album, the One Alone album, which was the all acoustic album, one voice, one guitar for the entire record, and
Which was a
I
great
had
album, by the way, just by the
thank you,
way.
thank you. And so I got to tour America behind that record. That album came out October 2019, and I started touring immediately thereafter, and got to finish my American touring cycle, which ended February 29th, 2020. And then,
Mhm.
of course, we all know what happened soon after that. And
Of
so
course.
that preempted my European UK tour that was supposed to start in March of 2020. And so we began what turned out to be a series of postponements of that EU and UK tour that ended up lasting more than 2 years. And so finally, uh, and thankfully, in the spring of 2022, I got to do that tour, do those shows, and
Yeah.
I think they were all the more rewarding for the fact that we all had to wait so long. And I was just amazed that people held on to their tickets, and I was amazed that we didn't lose more venues than we did. I mean, a few shows had to be moved.
Yeah.
Um, a few venues went out of business, a few promoters went out of business, but through it all, we were able to keep not only the tour itself intact, but really the routing stayed
Mhm.
virtually the same. I mean, for anybody that knows anything about touring, putting on a tour, performing a tour,
There's a
that
lot
is
of moving
an amazing
parts. Yeah. I
achievement.
mean,
That's an amazing achievement. So we finally got to do those shows, and I'm just so grateful, and I'm so grateful for everybody that came out. We all had a really good time. It was a one man show, so it was as intimate as you could get. It was basically like inviting people into my living room. for a night, except it was in their town, and
Yeah.
went all over Europe, man. I mean, it was incredible, incredible. It was like 30 some odd dates in Eastern Europe, Western Europe, all over the UK. It was awesome, awesome.
When you finally did do those dates, what was it like for you? Like, to come back out of COVID, was this something that, when you went back out there and you were doing your solo stuff, and then when you went out with the bigger scale with Alice in Chains, did you kind of look at touring or view touring and seeing people in a different light after the experience that we all had?
Uh, no, it's more that I think it was a sort of a call to remain ever more grateful that we get to do this,
Mhm.
because having that taken away so suddenly and for that long,
Yeah,
I think that was jarring
for
for
everybody.
for the entire world, no matter what walk of life or profession you're involved with. I mean, it was really jarring experience, and so I was more or less just glad to be out there at all. And and yeah, I think the shows took on a greater degree of meaning. I really felt it during my solo tour, because again, that was a one-man show, so uh, everything is sort of, I guess, more personalized
Mhm.
because of it. So, your contact with the audience, the way you have to interact with them. I mean, there's nothing in between songs. There's no production. It's you. Well, in this case, it's me. On a chair or
Me,
whatever.
myself, and I. Yeah.
Yeah,
Mhm.
I'm on a chair, and there's an acoustic guitar and a microphone, and that's it. And so whatever happens, during or between songs, it's all about maintaining this rapport across
Sure.
language barriers, across time zones, whatever. And so that really brought it home to me how what a privilege it is to get to do that for a living. And I think the people in the audience felt that way too. Many people came up to me before and after the shows on the solo tour saying, like, you are the first non-local artist to come here in,
Yeah.
2 years or whatever. And so, yeah, I mean, it was incredible. And then the Alice tour was incredible too, because um, although live music is back,
Mhm.
uh, that didn't mean that everyone showed up to all these different tours that were out
Yeah.
to the same degree or at the same scale. And
Mhm.
so, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
as
Yeah.
much
Yeah.
as much as we don't take anything for granted. On the other side of that, or by the same token, nothing's guaranteed.
No.
And so, sometimes, the old saying, "Build it and they will come." Well,
Mhm.
sometimes they do, but you can't necessarily rely on that. And man, people showed up for this tour that we did with Breaking Benjamin and Bush and the great opening bands we had, Thunder
Yeah.
Pussy, Lush, and
Mhm.
Project. I mean, they showed up in droves, and it was incredible. It was
It's
incredible.
probably one of the more fun shows that we had here on Long Island last year was that show, the Alice in Chains, Breaking Benjamin and Bush tour that was at Jones Beach. And I just want to go back a second for your solo show. I saw Bruce Springsteen the other night at the Garden, and some people don't realize that he wrote "Because the Night He Did It." Now, at your solo shows, a lot of people might be surprised to know that you wrote a song that's totally not in the rock relevance back in the mid 1990s. And I remember it because I was in high school, but you co-wrote that song by Dion Ferris. I know.
Oh,
Not many people realize that.
yeah, I know. I
Now, do you
know.
play that like and you go, yeah, I wrote
You
that song, okay?
down my number. Yeah, I did play that at some of my American shows
Okay.
back in 2019, because it happened to coincide. Those shows happened to coincide with the 25th anniversary of the release of that album by Dion Ferris,
Mhm.
Wild Seed, Wildflower, and therefore coincided with the release of that single,
Yeah.
which was, which did very well. It was all over the
Yeah.
airwaves, and I remember that time, rather fondly because you couldn't go anywhere without hearing it. I mean, it was playing out of cars passing by. It was in every, grocery store or bank, whatever, it was
Yeah.
everywhere, and all over the radio. And she did all the talk shows. She did Letterman. She did, Leno. She did Saturday Night Live. So yeah, that was a cool time. And so anyway, 25th anniversary of that coincided with the opening of my US shows back in 2019 for my One Alone album. And so yeah, I gave people a little snippet of it as a nod, like it was cool. It was
That's
nice.
very cool, man. That's something to be proud of, you know? I mean, like you said, that song was everywhere, and not many people can get to have the experiences that you've had,
Yeah.
with Alice in Chains and the band, and you writing a song. And, that just leads me to this other point because I believe it was the other day that it was the 21st anniversary of Lane Staley's passing. So when you first got in there, I mean, people, they just look at it as though, here comes a guy that's coming in, but there's a lot of pressure that's involved with replacing, a singer. Now, I don't know if you conferred with like Brian Johnson or Sammy Hagar, if there was like a club that you guys started, to give you some pointers, but what is the best thing that's happened to you since joining Alice in Chains?
Well, yeah, Sammy and I and Brian have a text thread, and we all. I'm kidding.
That's what I heard.
We have a text thread, and we
I heard
often
Gary Sharon was going to
participate.
be on there, but you said, you know what, you're not involved in this, Gary.
Yeah, yeah. My triumphs are theirs, and vice versa. No, I'm kidding. That's gonna end up in some, alternative nation headline or something. But,
Yeah.
um, but no, man. Yeah, your question. Just what was it? How do I, what?
What's the best thing that's happened since,
Oh, the
for
best
you
thing.
personally? Yeah.
Oh gosh. Well, I mean, it's obviously a, game changer. So
Yeah.
uh, the list is long. I mean,
Like you didn't feel a lot of pressure getting on. I mean, I'm sure you felt pressure for yourself, but there was nobody putting any pressure on you to go out and do something like that.
well, you feel pressure from outside. Obviously, we were aware of all of the external noise and the external dialogues that were going on, and all
Mhm.
of that. But we just played through it. I mean, that was one of the disciplines of that period, was just sort of tuning all of that out and moving full speed ahead with whatever we had to do. At
Yeah.
first it was playing a whole lot of shows just to see if this new arrangement worked for all of us,
Mhm.
and also to kind of test the waters with the people. But then it turned into, oh, now we're making a record, and there were new songs and new songs taking shape during all of that touring that we did in 2006 and 2007, and that led to Black is Way of Blue coming out in '09. And so
Great album.
throughout
Yeah.
that whole time, we were aware of the externals, but we managed to tune it out, and the rest is history. And here we are 17 years later. And so yeah, it's been great. I mean, it's hard to put it down to one best thing. Um, Obviously I have a long history in the underground
Yeah.
prior to joining Alice in Chains, and it ranges from the early days of hardcore punk in America to what we just talked about with writing a song that became a pop smash for Dion Ferris in the mid '90s, and everything in between. But obviously, joining Alice propelled me onto the world stage in a way that nothing else had prior to that. And so that's a huge game changing event, for anyone. And I think that entire period was transformative for all four of us, for various reasons, some of which overlap, and some of which are unique to each one of us. But certainly for me, one of the features for me personally of that time was suddenly uh, being on this platform that it's a different scale,
Yeah.
with everything that goes with that, mostly good, right?
Mhm.
But you have to take it all sides of it.
Yeah.
But that was a big thing, and from that, all sorts of uh, benefits, derive from that. You know what I mean? It's like it's been a long time now, and so I think we've all adjusted to what's happening, but in other ways, I think we'll all be processing this for the rest of our lives. Um, but there's so many great memories, man. I mean, making this many people happy, that's certainly one really positive feature of it. Going around the world at the level that we do, um, in my life before Alice in Chains, I functioned very independently from the system, the music business, as it was,
Mm.
and then joining Alice in Chains, though they had more interfacing with the commercial industry, the corporate record label system, and all of that. In many ways, Alice always sort of functioned as their own law. And then when we reconstituted the band, I think that quality of operating on our own time in our own way, regardless of anything or anyone else trying to say anything to us, was even more pronounced. Like, we really became a law unto ourselves once we got it up and running again. And I think being a part of something like that really not only jibed with my sensibilities for my whole life, since being a 15-year-old, just trying to, play in my first punk band, right? All of that music it had no hope, or there was no illusions about anything, anything but likely being hated for what you did.
Yeah.
You had to be a law unto your own self to operate within that. But fast forward to being an adult in this thing that's operating on a much grander scale, it jibed with my sensibilities, and I think it really, more greatly, it gave me a bigger appreciation for the way things turned out, because it's like, wow, there's so many different routes that life can take you, but for whatever reason, be it things I did to kind of lay the groundwork for this, or things that just worked out by luck, however one wants to look at it, here I am in this thing that it operates as its own law, just as I've always done that, and now we do that together, and it's really, really cool, really cool.
That's awesome. Well, William, it's been a pleasure to talk to you. Of course, the new track with The Who, this is Mongol Warrior Souls, is available now. The album Rumble of Thunder, the Who album, is actually going to be coming out, a sophomore edition. Their album, a deluxe edition, I should say, of that sophomore release will be out June 30th via Better Noise Music. And, William, we look forward to seeing you do some of your solo stuff back with Alice in Chains. If you do GTO stuff again, definitely keep us in the loop here. Long Island loves you, and you've been, great to us. And you're a gentleman. You are good. To give you a nice New York, New York, yo.
That's awesome. Well, thank you so much, and I love Long Island, and I have to give a shout out to one of your own, young drummer by the name of Grayson Necrutman, who many people who are on Instagram, especially musicians and especially drummers, will likely know who I'm talking about, because Grayson Necrutman played on my second solo album, 11/12/21, live in Studio Nashville, which came out last June, and he is the best young drummer I've seen in 30 years, easily. He's incredible. He is one of your own, and I have to shout out to him, because Grayson's going to do some great things. He already has, my record being one of them. but
naturally,
he's gonna create a lot of waves, and I hope to create some more waves with him. We made a good start on this record. It's just his first record date ever. My record. 11/12/21.
Do you know where he said he was from on Long Island, or do you remember, like, what town?
Oh gosh, he did, and now I can't remember the neighborhood. There's I wish I could remember now, but it escapes me. But suffice to say, he is one of your own, and he is amazing, and you will hear more from him in the future for sure, with me, and I'm sure other people. So yeah, and thank you for your support of this Who single. really.
I tell you, man, it's
Hu-
great.
Hugely appreciated. Yeah, yeah, they're doing some great things. I love the way they embrace their heritage and their history, the history of their country.
Mhm.
It's a wonderful thing, and they love rock and roll on top of that. And so I think we have a really great East meets West sort of meeting of the minds going on here with this single. And I hope it just continues to do well and your audience enjoys it.